Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your Emotional Support Podcast. I am so glad you're here. Today, we're talking about something that affects nearly every area of our lives, but often flies under the radar: the connection between self-worth and our relationships. Whether it's romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships, or even work relationships, how we feel about ourselves tends to show up everywhere. Before we dive in, I have a couple little announcements. First of all, if you hear weird noises like bells or anything like that, we have a brand new kitten, and my office is the only place to have her where the dogs can't get to her while we slowly introduce them to each other. So bells ringing, little meows, things like that. That's Harley. My second announcement is, if you've been listening for a while, you've probably noticed that I occasionally wander into conversations about relationships, emotional labor, mental load, communication, and all of the invisible work that many women carry every single day. Well, I decided it's time to create a space where we can go deeper into those topics. So I'm super excited to announce a new spin-off season that will focus specifically on relationships, women's mental load, emotional labor, default parenting, household management, and all of those dynamics that affect so many women and couples. If you've ever lost your shit on your family after asking nicely for the 7th time, if you've ever cried alone in the bathroom because it's all just too much, or if you've given a couple middle fingers behind your husband's back, this season is going to be for you. But it's also going to be for the husbands too, because we're sick of always having to ask for help and feel like we're nagging. So we're all going to figure this out together. Now, don't worry, your Emotional Support Podcast isn't going anywhere. I'm going to finish out this season with a few more episodes, and self-worth will always be our home base. But this new season will allow us to take a deeper dive into some of the relationship issues that deserve more than just a quick mention. And honestly, the timing couldn't be better, because today's topic sits right at the intersection of self-worth and relationships. So let's get into it. So I wanted to create this episode and the kind of spin-off season because I have so many clients that are just so frustrated with their romantic relationships because they feel like they're doing it all. And so that's kind of where this episode came about. Sometimes we think self-worth is just about how we feel when we're alone. It's whether we like ourselves, whether we feel confident, whether we believe we're enough. But self-worth doesn't stay neatly contained inside our own minds. It travels with us into every conversation, every disagreement, every friendship, every dating relationship, every marriage, and every family gathering. In fact, one of the quickest ways to identify self-worth struggles is to look at relationship patterns. Because when we don't feel worthy, we often start acting in ways that are designed to earn worthiness. And that can create some really exhausting relationship dynamics. So low self-worth doesn't always look like someone openly criticizing themselves. Sometimes it looks much sneakier. It can look like people-pleasing, difficulty setting boundaries, fear of disappointing others, constantly seeking reassurance, over-apologizing, avoiding conflict at all costs, feeling responsible for everyone else's emotions, and staying in unhealthy relationships longer than you should. Many people think, I'm just nice. And maybe you are, but sometimes that looks like kindness. Sometimes what looks like kindness is actually fear. Let me say that again because I really messed that up. Sometimes what looks like kindness is actually fear. Fear that if you say no, people won't like you. Fear that if you have needs, you'll be rejected. Fear that if you disappoint someone, you'll lose the relationship. When our self-worth is shaky, we often start believing that our value comes from what we do for other people rather than who we are, and that can become a full-time job. I often joke that some of us are walking around with an invisible relationship resume. We're constantly trying to prove that we're useful in relationships. We're helpful, we're easygoing, we're accommodating, we're selfless, we're available and reliable, the employee of the month, in relationships. And while those qualities aren't bad, they become a problem when we believe they're required in order to deserve love. Healthy relationships are not earned through exhaustion. You don't have to become indispensable to become lovable. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to deserve connection. So let's look at the other side. When self-worth is healthier, relationships tend to look different. Not perfect, just healthier. You can say no without feeling guilty for 3 business days afterward. You can have a disagreement without assuming the relationship is ending. You can ask for help. You can communicate your needs. You can let people be disappointed without treating it like a personal emergency. You also stop trying to earn your place in relationships because you already believe you belong there, and that is incredibly freeing. This brings me to something we'll be discussing a lot more in the new spin-off season. Many women carry what we call the mental load, the invisible work of remembering, planning, anticipating, managing, scheduling, tracking, coordinating. And often this happens so automatically that we don't even notice we're doing it. We become the default household manager, the family project manager, the keeper of birthdays, the appointment schedules, the field trip form signer, the grocery inventory specialist, the person who somehow knows where everyone's shoes are. And while there are certainly practical and societal reasons why this happens, self-worth can sometimes become tangled up in it too. Some women start feeling valuable because they're needed. Some start feeling worthy because they're the one holding everything together. Sometimes some women begin to believe that if they stop managing everything, they're somehow failing. The problem is that eventually this creates resentment, exhaustion, and burnout because no human being is designed to carry everyone else's responsibilities indefinitely. Here's a question I encourage you to think about. If you stopped over-functioning tomorrow, would you still feel worthy? Oof, I know. That one can sting a little because for many people, their identity has become wrapped up in being the responsible one, the helper, the fixer, the manager, the one everyone depends on. But your worth was never supposed to come from carrying the weight of the entire world. One of the healthiest things we can do is stop looking for relationships to prove our worth. Relationships can support us, love us, encourage us, but they cannot permanently fill a self-worth hole. That's an inside job. When we expect relationships to convince us we're enough, we end up needing constant reassurance. When we know we're enough, relationships become a place of connection rather than validation. Healthy relationships aren't built on one person managing everything and the other person simply participating. They're built on teamwork, mutual respect, shared responsibility, communication, and the understanding that both people matter. And I again apologize, all this noise from this tiny little kitten is, I hope, not super distracting. But anyway, this is why I'm so excited about this new spin-off season. We're going to talk about these things. We're going to talk about the mental load, default parenting, emotional labor, communication patterns, household management, relationship resentment, division of labor, boundaries, invisible work, partnership versus parenting your partner. And we'll do it with the same compassion, practical, and sometimes humorous approach that we use here because these conversations matter. And honestly, many women have been carrying these burdens quietly for far too long. So as we wrap up today, I want you to remember this. Your value is not determined by how much you do for other people. Your worth is not measured by how exhausted you are. You do not have to earn your place in your relationships through constant sacrifice. Healthy self-worth allows us to show up authentically, set boundaries, ask for help, and build relationships that are based on mutual care instead of self-abandonment. And as we begin this new chapter with the relationship spin-off season, I hope you'll join me there too, because the healthier our self-worth becomes, the healthier our relationships can become. And vice versa, I think too. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Until next time, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and remember that your worth has never been up for debate. I am so glad you're here.